The GameCube came out 20 years ago. 20 fucking years ago. 20 years ago was my first apartment then, because the GameCube is always in my mind. That console, that it reminds me specifically of that period of time. GameCube was was Nintendo's first disc-based system. Hot on the heels of the less than stellar success of the Nintendo 64. I think the GameCube actually sold worse than the N64, though.
Absolutely did.
Yeah, you'll have to check.
I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, it was kind of like Nintendo's dark days. The GameCube was a really neat design, especially for early 2000. You know, the actual cube with the handle on the back. It looked like a little lunchbox. And I remember when the controllers were, announced, people were like, what the hell is that controller? It's still one of the weirder looking controllers out there, which is funny because Nintendo also made the Nintendo 64 controller, which is bizarre too. I loved the GameCube. It was probably the system I played the most out of the big three: PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox. I did have a PS2, but it was an import PS2. And after I moved out and, into my first apartment, I didn't exactly have money to be dropping on import games that I didn't understand. Good stuff on there. Some of the launch titles were Luigi's Mansion, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader, Wave Race Blue Storm. I know that Super Monkey Ball, the first one, I don't think it was a launch title, but it came out shortly after. So did Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. But it was hugely popular in my first apartment, and I played the shit out of games like Super Monkey Ball. I really got the whole party experience usage out of the GameCube. I never owned a Nintendo 64. Did some two-player stuff on it, obviously Mario Kart, but this was the first time I had owned a system where multiplayer was all we did. We didn't really do anything single player. So Smash Brothers, Super Monkey Ball, the party games, Sega Soccer Slam. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Mario Kart Double Dash. All of those were things that we played a ton of. The GameCube also has some of people's favorite entries in, storied Nintendo series on there. I'm not a huge fan of either of these entries, but Double Dash and Melee are often considered the standout examples of both of those franchises.
Oh, okay. I never heard of Double Dash being that, but definitely Melee.
Oh, people love Double Dash.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I don't like the player switching. Just people are like, oh, it adds depth and strategy. I'm like, it adds some bullshit to do while you're still playing a game that is highly based on
it's a gimmick.
Yeah, random luck. So yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of good times with the GameCube, and it's.
Do you remember the advertising campaigns back then? I don't.
That's the thing. I don't. I actually don't remember the advertising or anything really surrounding it, and I was.
Which is why I probably didn't do well.
I would say since the age of 15, my TV watching dropped considerably.
Yeah.
But I watched a lot of TV in my first apartment because that's what we all did. We sat around on the couch and got high and flipped on the TV and flipped through cable. And I don't remember GameCube commercials and stuff like that. That would have been I don't remember there being a huge advertising blitz.
Later college.
And it's funny, you look at Nintendo's advertising campaigns, and it's always the systems with less advertising that do worse. It correlates. The Wii U didn't have much advertising or any explanation of anything.
God, the Wii U advertised I don't know. I think I've seen one commercial ever for the Wii U.
Yeah, I think I saw one.
Switch stuff, you see commercials all the time.
I was gonna say Switch. I saw commercials for all the time. Nintendo 64 stuff, even though I didn't love it. I remember the advertisements. There was even the Got Milk crossover with Mario escaping Super Mario 64 and the Got Milk commercial. There was a lot of advertising for it, but yeah, I don't think they. I don't know.
So, okay. The N64 sold about 33 million. Is that what I was looking at here? 33 million, just under worldwide.
What was the GameCube? 24 million?
Not even. It was under 22 million.
Oh,
it dropped by a third. A third. So that's the second worst console they've ever come out with in terms of sales behind the Wii U. That's bad.
Yeah.
And so this is how I always look at it. I always look at the GameCube as a sequel to the N64, the same way the Super Nintendo was a sequel to the NES.
Yeah.
You have this is your second 3D console. You have a lot of the franchises that started on the N64 and third-party ones come over to the GameCube, and you have this unfortunate almost dogmatic resistance to the popular physical media. Like, that's why the N64 failed in comparison to the PlayStation, which ate their lunch, and that's why the GameCube failed, and PS2 ate their dinner, because they couldn't go to a DVD or anything close to that. They had to stay with their do a mini disc, and which was better. That's better. But if this had PS2 capabilities and had a DVD player, you know how many more GameCubes would have sold? Holy shit.
I think that would have helped it at the time. Yeah, absolutely, because that helped the PlayStation 2. GameCube, it wasn't just the format, though. When you look at GameCube, they did weird things with their franchises on there that I think some people look back on fondly now, but then I think pushed people away. Metroid became a first-person shooter.
Okay.
Your only...
You think that pushed people away? The fact that
your only Mario entry on the system is the worst Mario, in my opinion. A very weird game where you spend most of the time using a water pack, a jetpack to clean shit up.
People like that idea, but okay.
I mean, it's neat, different. But it's different. And I think
it's too different.
It's too different. And I mean, there were 2 Zeldas on it.
So you got much better third-party support on the GameCube. You have stuff like, Resident Evil coming on the GameCube, things like that. Oh, yeah, Resident Evil 2 on the N64, but that's, that's an afterthought on the 64. But you have the Metal Gear game come on the GameCube. They make a ton of them.
The remake of the first one.
Yeah, so you had some support there. So I'm looking at this. There were 653 games on the GameCube, including the DD games. There was about 464 games. So you expanded the library by over 50%.
By how many? You said it went from 600 something to 400 with DD games. What did you mean to say?
N64 library is only 400 games.
Okay.
Including the DD games.
Oh, with the DD games. Gotcha.
If you want to, that's only about 10, 15 games.
Right.
So they expand over 50% of the library going to a console that sold less. So that shows you that you had a decent amount of third-party support, even though the console was a failure in comparison.
I think that says a lot about that time period, too. It's not like now where releases are kind of fewer and far between and more things are trying to be AAA. There was a lot of AA titles in that generation on PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. And I think it was just easy for these people to be like, well, it's on disc at least. It's not cartridge. We can just port this to each system.
Easier to do like these EA ports and Ubisoft. I'm looking, there's a decent amount of Ubisoft games and Konami games.
Yeah, exactly. Like you had the Tom Clancy stuff on there. Yeah. EA stuff, some Star Wars stuff.
For the first time, some Sega games, which is interesting.
So that was one of the things that actually drew me to the GameCube when it came out, was that some of the good developers that were coming off of the Dreamcast stuff, like Amusement Vision, those developers, BitSmile, were doing things for the new system. So like I loved the Dreamcast. So as soon as I saw something like Super Monkey Ball heading to the GameCube, I was like, well, this is going to be the next GameCube. And
you got Crazy Taxi on there. I had it for GameCube.
The Acclaim version. That's the Acclaim published one. It sucks.
But it's Crazy Taxi. I remember I bought it just to play in the Wii because I never had a GameCube. I had a Wii in my garden apartment in Jersey. Yeah, what do you think Sega felt about that? We're talking about a year after. Wow, I'm looking at they started. Yeah. Super Monkey Ball. They published that September 2001. I mean, the Dreamcast corpse is still cold. It wasn't even cold yet.
Right. No.
At that point, they knew it was done.
I've always wondered if there was ever a prototype for Monkey Ball on the Dreamcast out there somewhere. I'm sure it had to have been started.
You mean a GameCube prototype? Like when they started?
No, of the Dreamcast Super Monkey Ball.
Okay.
Because it's so close between the death of the Dreamcast and them releasing that on the GameCube. I'm wondering if there's a Dreamcast prototype of Super Monkey Ball. I'm wondering if they ever started work on a Dreamcast version of it and then realized that this is
we have to stop it.
We have to stop this.
Well, maybe the tech inside was so similar to them. They're like, okay, we'll be able.
Well, that's the thing. The GameCube, in terms of power, was a very powerful system in terms of its graphic capabilities. It looked great. I remember looking at like comparisons between, if a game released on 3 systems, all 3 of those systems at the time, the GameCube version was usually ahead of both of them or just behind the Xbox one. The PS2 was actually kind of the worst in terms of graphic capabilities.
And
It was just used so much that by the end of the PS2 lifespan, they had figured out how to wring all the tricks out of it.
And the optical discs were just smaller, just a little bit smaller. It was, let's see, GameCube was 1.46 gigs, and then PS2, well, DVD is 4.7. I know that. So we're talking 3 times the space. Not all the PS2 games used direct DVD, some were, but all of them were bigger. Obviously, bigger space,
right,
on that. And I don't know what did Microsoft Optical. Actually, I don't know what that is, what they use, but I'm guessing it was probably close to PS2. What did the original OG Xbox? What was the space on that? It was just a DVD for most of the games?
It was just DVD. And it just like PS2 was just DVD. And then halfway through the lifespan, they switched to dual layer. I actually don't know if Xbox ever switched to dual layer, but I know that there's a bunch of dual layer games on the PS2.
You're talking 3 times, even if it's 3 times the space versus the GameCube. So obviously, you're truncated in what you can do.
In terms of cinematics and stuff like that, for sure.
Sure. But were there any? There were some GameCube games that were multiple discs, though. There were some.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So that's how they can get
Resident
around
Evil
it.
0 was. Right. Resident Evil 4 was. I think Resident Evil Remake was. Any of the RPGs. Yeah, because once you started doing stuff that had cinematics in it, you're filling up that space very quickly.
You had to swap it out. So there you go. And then the handle is cute because then I guess they wanted to be portable. Because again, this is like the N64. It's like this is your party console, 4 controller ports.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which they brought to the Wii as well. That's what I love about the Wii is that they brought the GameCube ports to it. That was such a great idea.
Yeah, they eventually pulled them out, but it's not hard to find a backwards compatible Wii.
Most of them are backwards compatible.
Yeah, the majority of them.
Yeah, a chunk of them. So yeah, I don't have a huge amount of GameCube experience. I go over my cousins, the boys that had every fucking console because they were spoiled. I play some GameCube, but at that point, you're talking, computers are dominating by this point in the internet. PS2, I had a PS2, basically as a DVD player. Then I got SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain. It was one of the best ones in the series. It was like the third or fourth game. And I play. You said I didn't play any N64. I really didn't play any GameCube games at all at the time. I can't even remember it.
Sure.
So, but you have fond memories of it. You still like your little GameCube with the handle?
I don't have one anymore, but I do look back on the system pretty fondly.
It's a cute one. Guide to the GameCube library? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.